Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so today's topic is Shiatsu, and more specifically, it's called Zen Shiatsu. So Zen Shiatsu is a very kind of special or specific lineage um, that we study and that we teach here. And it comes from basically Shizuzu Masunaga. So he's the founder of Zen Shiatsu from Japan. There's a whole lineage and whole history that we won't get too much into, but understand that there are different forms of Shiatsu that are practiced all throughout Asia and North America. And this particular one is called Zen Shiatsu. Okay, so this is a little kind of proverb I like to start and finish our sessions with because it really portrays what Shiatsu is in more of a poetic sense. So if we think about Shiatsu as a form of massage and body work, it's actually goes a little bit deeper in that, and it's really about a relationship. So more than just finger pressure, we have hands that we reach out to receive and we extend ourselves in work. Being heavy, we need something to lean on. The earth lends us her body for support. In Shiatsu, our partner lends their body for support. Then, resting and strong, we can offer our hands in help, breathing heaven spirit, two people, really one. Okay. So for those of you who have never seen or experienced Shiatsu, just a little context, the traditional session is done fully clothed on the floor on a futon mat. So Shiatsu translates to mean finger pressure. So all of the application is through compressive force. So I'm either using my palms, other parts of my hands, forearms, elbows, knees, thumbs, all parts of the body to apply pressure throughout. So if you can imagine laying on the ground and receiving this type of compressive force is very, very grounding, right? So this is kind of a description of what shiatsu is. So like I said, it means finger pressure. We see the thumbs as we use it. There's also the meridian line. So what are we doing? We're putting pressure on the channels of the body, more specifically on points that can have very great and powerful indications to help benefit the whole energy system. So there's many benefits of shiatsu. It's, like I said, very grounding. It calms the mind. It helps to balance your energies and balance the meridians. It's obviously good for any type of physical pain. It helps to increase awareness about our own body, about our own breath, and things like that. It also helps to restore cycles. So when I talk about cycles, we can think about sleep cycles, digestive cycles, menstruation cycles, right? So anything that we can use as markers to track our health, I think about cycles, okay? It's both relaxing, but it can also be energizing, and it helps to accelerate a process. So if something is already in motion, it'll just help speed it up, okay? And of course, it's great for prevention and maintenance, as most body work things are. So we have several principles that we work with. One is just about being present, making contact, being comfortable, both for the giver and the receiver. So, you wear comfortable clothing, loose, breathable fabrics. We may use pillows or bolsters or blankets for support. So anything that's going to provide comfort in the different positions that we could use. Also for the practitioner, you want to make sure that you're comfortable because we are working on the floor. There's some level of flexibility and mobility that we need to be able to move around on a mat. For those people who are not comfortable working on a floor or maybe have some injury or limitation, there are ways to adapt these principles of shiatsu onto a table. So I know some of you in this room are already practitioners. So shiatsu is a great second modality. It can be done on the table, like table shiatsu, or can traditionally be done on the floor, which has a really great benefits because we have the whole mat to kind of spread around. There's a lot of movement and stretches and mobilizations that we can perform on a mat. And also just the use of our full body leverage with gravity, we can get some really deep and sustained pressure working on the floor. So when we think about the breath and the rhythm, every time we inhale, we exhale, we apply pressure, and we kind of synchronize our breath, the giver and the receiver, right? So breathe in and exhale, and then we would apply pressure with our body leverage, and this person just kind of sinks deeper into the mat. Everything is perpendicular pressure. So if you want to just try like pushing straight down, perpendicular is like 90 degrees. So it has a really nice point of contact versus if I come in at an angle, right? And we kind of skim the skin or stretch the fascia, it has a different effect. So I think a lot of people have experienced traditional massage or Swedish massage when we're receiving on the skin on a table that uses horizontal or transverse force, where shiatsu is perpendicular. So for that reason, it's really deep, it's penetrating, and it's also very, very grounding. One of the main principles that we see in traditional Chinese medicine is this concept of yin and yang, right? I think we all have seen this or have some inclinations on what it means, what it represents. So mostly when we look at the yin and the yang, we see black and white. We see circular, and each section represents different things. So on the yin side, it is the black part of the circle, and it represents darkness, feminine, the inner worlds, the nighttime, earth. Okay, at nighttime, it gets a little bit colder, right? So these aspects are more considered qualities of yin. Also, the more emotional or the feeling side, the softness, the being, and rest. Okay, so we can see how these all kind of carry a theme, and this is more yin. And then on the reverse side, the opposite, we have the light, masculine, the outer worlds, daytime could be hot, right? Heat, heavens versus earth. This is where we would have more of an outward movement of expression, right? So remember on the yin side, it was more about internal emotions and feeling. This is about outward expression of in the outer worlds. It also represents logic. It can be hard to the touch, moving and active. So you see within these two dualities, both extremes exist, but in the symbol of the yin and the yang, it's circular and there's a flow. So again, I have the last talk next Tuesday is all about yin and yang. We'll go deeper into the principles and the concepts because it's really quite revolutionary and very simple in that way, but it kind of covers um, as an explanation or theory that really explains all of life and existence. Okay, so has anybody heard about a meridian? Meridian as an energy channel. Okay, so in traditional Chinese medicine, we talk about meridians, we talk about Subo points or acupressure, acupuncture points. They're all the same thing. So basically, meridians are channels that run through the body, and there's an energy flow that runs through the meridians. Okay, so qi represents energy, and the qi runs through the meridians. And this is what they look like. So again, remember I said there's yin and yang in the universe. There's also yin and yang in the body. So if our arms are up, remember the yin is the earth and it's the ground. So the yin meridians start from the earth and they travel up the body and end in the fingertips. Okay, so the energy from the earth flows up, and this is the direction of flow. Where yang represents the heavens, right, or the heavenly energy, and these meridians move through the fingertips and end in the earth. So that it just gives you a inclination on direction of flow. There are 12 meridians in the body, 6 yin, 6 yang, and they are paired up. So, right, we have a yin and a yang meridian for every element. The other thing we see is that the yin meridians are more on the front of the body, right? We see them in the inner leg, right? Or the shadow of the leg, in the front of the body, where it's a little bit more soft, emotive, and vulnerable, and also in the inner part of the arm. Okay, on the reverse side, the yang meridians are more on the hard surface or the outer part of the arm, and all in the back of the body, which is very guarded and structural and strong, and also the lateral side of the leg. Okay, so that's just a little meridian anatomy. And along the meridian, there, or the channel, there's points. So you see those dots, those represent the Subo points along the channel. Now, Subo points are just little kind of cups of energy that can accumulate, and they can we can access the entire channel through these points. So they kind of come to the surface, and it just becomes easier for us to influence the energy of the channel. So if you can imagine, to me, it looks like a person with connect the dots, right? We got the dots and we draw in the lines. But if we're working with the principles of Shiatsu, I'm breathing and I'm leaning in and I'm pressing every single point or every single aspect along the line or the channel. Okay, so this helps to move the energy through the channel. And also, if I were to stop and hold on specific points, like there's a point right here in the chest, lung 1, it's really good for cough, asthma, congestion, things like that. Okay, so every single point has an indication or a reason or a symptom that we can use to help support these things. Okay. So there are over 200 points, subos, in the meridians. Another concept that we like to talk about, and all of this, I'm talking in general terms, but this all relates back to health, balance, and well-being. So as a practitioner, we're kind of learning like new concepts and new language, a new way to look at the body. But as a form of assessment, it can really support not only a shiatsu practice, but any other form of body work or massage practice, okay, when we're working with the principles. So in this case, we're talking about kyo and jitsu. Again, oppositional forces. So kyo, it means empty, right? Something, an area, an organ meridian, or a subal point that's empty. It could be depleted. So depleted of what? Depleted of chi, right? It will usually feel cold to the touch, and it's deeper. It's below the surface, and it's slower to respond. Okay, this is usually the underlying cause of pain, discomfort, or disease. And in these cases, if something is empty and depleted, we would then need to tonify it. Okay, and what are some ways we can tonify a point? Well, simply holding it, pressing or rubbing, right, is going to stimulate and bring attention, bring warmth into the point and kind of fill it up. Okay, so that's one way we can do it. But just kind of long, sustained pressure brings attention, brings energy into that body area. Jitsu is something that is considered full, overactive. It can be hot to the touch, and it protrudes from the surface. So think about a pimple, right? A pimple is something that is a little bump that raises from the surface. It's usually filled with some sort of fluid. It could have redness, heat, and inflammation. So that's full, and we can literally see it. It's protruding from the surface, right? Versus a kyo, we wouldn't see that. It's a part that remains hidden. Okay, so there's big differences there. And a jitsu is immediate to respond. So these are the symptoms that we feel like my neck hurts or I have a bruising or pain, right? It's very obvious, it's loud, it's like, hey, pay attention to me, right? So these guys, jitsu areas manifest the symptom, okay? Now, in Western society, we tend to pay attention to the loud symptoms and we want to patch it up, we want to soothe it, we want to have a band-aid or something. And that's great. It's going to give comfort for the moment, but it's never going to fully address the underlying cause. So this symptom will always come back. Okay, so in trying to find balance through this practice is we want to find the kyo and also address the kyo, the jitsu, right? So we want to work both aspects, the underlying cause And we want to soothe the boo-boo as well too, okay? By dispersing it. We can disperse it by frictions, right? Rubbing it out, soothing the shoulder, or working really quickly to help move the energy out of the body or redirect it into the channels that are key or depleted, right? So in this way, we are essentially redirecting the person's own energy flow within their own body. Okay, so this is what's really special, I think, about this approach is that I'm not giving my energy to an empty or depleted person, because then I would be exhausted. And I'm not taking on other people's symptoms or pain or stress, right? I am centered and grounded in myself, and I'm just identifying where the empty, where the full is, and trying to redirect the person's own energy flow. And that's how we work in Shiatsu, and this is how we sustain health and balance. So everything in Chinese medicine is a reflection of nature. So I love this image here because in this picture, we see the mountains and the valleys. So the mountains represent the jitsu, right? The earth is literally protruding from the surface. So the mountains could be hard or tense muscles or little knots that we feel in the arm or the neck, right? And the valley, well, there's the emptiness. We see the dip, okay? So if again, I'm working with perpendicular pressure, I might be able to sink into the valleys of the body, right? And I'm just being pulled in because you can penetrate and sink deeper, right? And then as I move along the channel, I might feel areas that are hard and stiff and kind of protruding and pushing me out, right? I can't sink as deep. So these are one of the ways that we kind of assess through contact the Kyo and the Jitsus, and I call them mountains and valleys, okay? And this here represents the meridian channel, okay? So this squiggly line would be the, well, let's just call that the surface of the skin, okay? And each little cup would be the Subo points, okay? So think of it like a meridian or the skin or something. And the water, what do you think that is, right? Yes, that's the flow of the chi running deep in through the meridian and into the body, okay? So the reason why I'm showing this picture here is that as I press down here, okay, so we've got this perpendicular pressure here moving down into the body, yeah, into the points, we can see that the energy or the chi is below the surface, right? That I can't, it's not running at the surface level. So I might have to sink a little bit deeper and wait a little bit longer for the chi or the water to raise up to the surface. Okay, where in other points, like this area here, we see the energy is actually above, right? It's protruding from the surface. So this is an example of how energy can flow through a meridian. And within the same meridian, there can be areas of emptiness or kyo and points that are also jitsu and full, okay, which is probably why, you know, if we trace a meridian, there might be some tender points along the channel, and there might be some points that just feel really great, and you just want to kind of hang out there for a while. So that's another way that we can identify kyo and jitsu, is the kyo is the part of comfort and just relaxation. You want to take a deep breath, where the jitsu is kind of like, ooh, that's a little achy, or that's tender, that's sore, and you want to move quickly through those areas. All right. Okay, so next we have the meridian. So I said they all come in channels. Sorry, they all come in pairs. So these are our two pairs. We have the lung and large intestine. And it's also showing kind of what it is that the pathways. So lung and large intestine are arm meridians, right? So one would be on the yin side of the arm, the other one would be on the yang side of the arm. Another pair is stomach and spleen. So we see that runs through the front of the body, and it also runs through the stomach area. Spleen in Chinese medicine, it has more functions of digestion. So it's not the actual physical organ of the spleen that we know in the West, but it's more of like the spleen pancreas. Okay, so stomach, that's why stomach and spleen go together because it's all about digestive functions. We have something called the pericardium and triple heater. Never heard of those organs before because they're not, okay? They're more concepts. So pericardium, well, there is a pericardium or the heart constrictor that is a sac around the actual heart. The triple heater or triple burner, you'll hear it referred to in different ways, is more of a concept of the three burners. So the reproductive, the digestive, and the respiratory. So I have these three burners that kind of govern all of physiology in life, right? We need each one to function well in order to have good health. Okay, so that's the concept of the triple heater. We know heart and small intestine, so those are two fire meridians, they're grouped together. We have the bladder and kidney, which are water element, and the liver and gallbladder as a yin-yang pair. Another thing that we like to practice in Shiatsu is something called makahos, and essentially they're meridian stretches. So there's a series of 6 stretches that we do that help stretch or activate the meridian. So based on, we saw the previous picture, how the meridians flow through the body, there's stretches that are designed. So for example, the gallbladder channel runs lateral to the body. So the stretch would kind of look like this, like a side bend, right? So you get a nice big stretch and opening of the meridian. So Makaho stretches look like this. And in the intro class that we're going to have on Thursday, we're going to go over these. I give you the sheet to practice at home. I'm going to send you a video to watch the different stretches because this should be a daily practice. I'm often giving clients maybe 1 or 2 stretches to practice on their own, but when they get really good at it, it's the whole series. And, it takes like 5 to 10 minutes to go through this daily, maybe twice a day. And what does it do? Imagine that we're activating and stretching all of our meridians on a daily basis. Well, it brings flexibility and mobility to the tissues and joints. It helps with your energy flow and energy levels and mood. It can help with all of the functions of the meridians, from breathing to elimination to digestion to reproduction, like everything, processing. And it also really helps to support the Shiatsu practice, right? Because Qigong and Tai Chi and Makoho stretches, we need to take care of ourselves as a practitioners in order to not only give great sessions, but to have long, energetic lives and careers. Okay. So again, it is a helping relationship field. We are givers, we're nurturers, but we have to nourish and nurture ourselves first. So as a daily practice, it's really great. I've had students come in and could not even bend over and touch your toes. Or look at this stretch here, number 2, the big one, right? So there's variations. If we can't do a full-on back bend, there's variations that we can prep and we can warm up and we can prepare the body into the bigger stretches or not. Okay, so anybody with knee issues might find it very difficult and cumbersome to crawl around on the floor mats. But I've had students who couldn't even touch your toes, let alone crawl. By the end of the level 1 and level 2, doing Makaho stretches every week and probably on their own as well, they were able to do full sessions on the mat. Okay, so again, it benefits not only the physical structure, but the energetic structures as well. So Makaho's there. The bladder channel. So bladder channel is the one that runs in the back of the body. For those of you who've studied Western anatomy, it's also the superficial back line, the fascial line. So it's a long meridian that starts in the front, the corner of the eyes. It travels over the head, through the back of the neck, and 2 channels down each side of the spine. So in total, there's 4 lines that we're going to work, and it goes down the back of the leg and ends at the little toe. So there's 67 points on the bladder channel, and we work this in every single session. Why? Because it just feels amazing, right? Can you imagine your entire back being pressed out in these little micro points? but it really benefits the nervous system, right? It restores the autonomic nervous system. It helps to push things towards the extremity. So whatever ailments or aches and pains that were going on in the body, it just kind of helps it release from the body, which also helps with adaptability. It works on the peripheral nerves and the spinal cord, brings us into the parasympathetic nervous system as well. And it is the energetic balance of the body. So bladder channel, for those who will give and receive it, is just super relaxing. It feels amazing. And this approach alone is probably what started my shiatsu practice. What do I mean? Well, I told you I started off as a Swedish massage practitioner. So I would do my sessions on the table, and then I would say, the person has some lower back pain or something. All right, get dressed for the last 10, 15 minutes, and we're going to jump on the floor and I'm going to do some stretches, right? So I would do like maybe a leg rotation, some lumbar stretching, and then I would work the bladder channel. So even just 10, 15 minutes of a little bit of shiatsu, most of my clients ended up transitioning into full hour sessions on the floor. So it's one of those things. I know we're all here today because we want to know more or we're curious about it, but go try out one of our student clinics or go book a shiatsu session, because once you try it, I'm telling you, it's life-changing in terms of receiving body work. So here at the school, I've been practicing shiatsu for over 22 years now. We offer different programs to help either, well, these are professional programs. So basically you would leave with the diploma in massage therapy. In our shiatsu courses, we cover, of course, the 12 meridian theory. So we look at the anatomical pathways, a few points. I said there's over 200 points. We're going to probably learn about 30 points in the level 1 class. Okay. Then after we learn 12 meridians, there's no more meridians to learn. Like that's it. Okay. Some systems like the Zen Shiatsu actually have 24 meridians, but we're going to focus on the basic 12 that I showed you in the previous slide. So in level 2, then we look at it through the lens of the 5 elements. So people are familiar with the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, water. TCM has 5 elements. It's wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Okay, so there's 5 elements. Well, there's 12 meridians. So there's actually 4 fire meridians. So there's primary fire and secondary fire. So that's kind of how they're categorized into the 5 elements, right? In pairs, and they have a quality of an element. What's great about the 5 elements, again, it's a reflection of nature. So if I look about wood, where is wood in my environment? Well, my desk is wood. Can go outside. Well, the trees are not very green, but their trees are still there. That's wood. Okay, we also have aspects of wood in our body. Wood is represented by muscles and tendons. Okay, so that's just giving you an example of how we kind of take these concepts, we relate them to our external world, and we can also look internally, more yin, and see how is that manifested in the body and how are they representing aspects of health or dis-ease, right? Not at ease. In the final level, we're looking at katas. Katas are a structural approach because most clients won't come in and say, hey, I think my lung meridian is a little jitsu today, right? Nobody talks like that. They're like, my neck hurts, or I'm constipated, or I have back pain. So in katas, we, of course, are supporting the body through Subo points and meridians, but we're looking at from a structural point of view. So how do we treat neck issues, frozen shoulder, lower back, plantar fasciitis, right? Because that's really kind of what a bodywork practice would look like. And of course, we support all this with supervised clinics, case studies, and every massage diploma, you have your core classes like anatomy, physiology, helping relations, sexuality, and code of ethics. So that's standard for any modality you might practice. So those of you who are already practitioners, you don't have to redo your core classes. You would just do Shiatsu level 1, 2, 3 in clinic. Okay, so today's talk is about Shiatsu, but a bigger scope of that is acupressure and TCM. So traditional Chinese medicine is the big umbrella of the philosophy and the approach. Okay, under TCM, you have body work, Shiatsu, Tuina, acupressure, acupuncture. Okay, these are all different aspects. You have breathing systems like Qigong and Tai Chi. You also have hands-on approaches like moxibustion, cupping, gua sha. Okay, these are all part of traditional Chinese medicine. We also have things like Chinese dietetics, Chinese herbology, martial arts have aspects of TCM. Okay, so we see it's this big umbrella and people can jump in at any point. And, I have a lot of students who started in martial arts and they were just really curious about TCM and has brought them into the field of holistic health. And now they're Shiatsu therapists now, right? They work with the 5 elements and acupressure and Shiatsu stretches and things like that. What's great about traditional Chinese medicine and our TCM courses is that we teach forms of assessment. So what does that mean? How do we evaluate what's working well in the body and what is in disharmony? First off, we need to assess. So things like looking at the tongue, taking the pulse, right? So understanding the body through tongue and pulse, right? Through questioning, through observation. There's many ways that we can assess the energetic and physical qualities in the body. Because until we have that, then we can say, how do we bring it into balance, right? So remember, I talked about the Kyo Jitsu and bringing that into balance. So TCM uses similar concepts. So if there's too much cold in the body, right? Not only would a person feel cold or have cold hands and feet, but they also might have slow metabolism or digestion or hypothyroid, right? So coldness can show up in the body, not only physically, but functionally as well too, okay? Just as heat might show up as night sweats or frustration and anger, right, is a form of heat, emotional heat. Um, Another form of heat was inflammation, right? Heat in the body. So that's kind of using the principles to assess. And then we would then decide, okay, what points would I use? Which meridians would I work? What stretches can I give for homework? What types of flavors and foods can I recommend? So we see it's a big kind of practice. And it's really supportive of our Western approaches. It just gives us a different lens in which we view balance and wellness. So I said we have the introduction to Shiatsu class happening this Thursday. It's at our NDG location from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I invite everybody to come check that out. We also have our level 1 student clinics at our Dorval location, February 2nd and 9th. So you can sign up there. And this particular course runs hybrid starting February 3rd. So that means that we're online Mondays from 7 to 9 for the theoretical aspect and in person Thursdays from 10 to 2. Okay. And after that, once we move into level 2 and level 3, we kind of just do in person full days 10 to 4 because it's more hands on, right? All of our foundation theory has been covered. So here's some of our information. We're located in the Queen Elizabeth Health Complex, and you can reach us through any of our channels there. Okay, so here's a little kind of demo of what Shiatsu can look like. Let me just close that one. Screen Shiatsu. There's no sound, so just imagine. So there's our compressive force, rolling. I said we use all parts of the body. So this here is called barefoot shiatsu, but again, using the same principles, perpendicular pressure along the channels. This is part of the bladder meridian. I'm using palm pressure, using full body leverage. So you can see how deep some of the contact can be, full body there. This is our class and Dorval. So again, thumb pressure along the bladder channel. Okay, so the first one I was using palm compressive force. This one is thumbs, holding the feet. And then next we'll see some of the different applications. So some of the mobilizations and the stretches that we can apply either in seated position, sweeping. There we go, seated position. So there's an arm mobilization, an arm stretch, spinal twist. Okay, some of these things you might have seen, and people is really it's popular in Thai massage. So Thai massage comes from a different lens. It's more Ayurvedic, where Shiatsu falls under the TCM umbrella. The meridians are different, but a lot of the mobilizations and stretches look the same. People love to be stretched and to be moved around. So there you go. If you haven't received Shiatsu, maybe you want to try. All right. Okay, guys, so time to turn on your cameras.